All right, now, so we've kind of been beating around this bush and all this discussion of, the convergence of the war party aims and what we think of as liberalism, certainly not the peace-loving hippies that people would tend to assume for some reason, all evidence notwithstanding. But so let's get right to the heart of this, then, the left, the right, and the state. What we're talking, that's, of course, the name of your book. What is it? How do you get people to figure out, I'm sure you're going to say something along the lines of it's a matter of degrees of individual freedom versus the idea of collectivism, whether it's in the name of some kind of lovey-dovey, supposedly international socialism, or whether it's brutal national socialism of the right or something. What we need is liberty, right? There's got to be a way that people who believe in, the civil libertarian parts of liberalism and the general constitutional kind of mindset of conservatism can sort of see a realignment of values around what you're talking about, which is freedom for people against this Leviathan.
Well, what we have to do is actually try to put into effect the rhetoric, because, of course, neither the left nor the right believe in liberty. They may use libertarian rhetoric. Certainly, frequently they do use libertarian rhetoric, both sides, but neither one of them actually believes in it. Both believe in the state and more power for themselves as against the rest of us. So the right may use some of our rhetoric, the left may use some of our rhetoric, but again, the liberals don't actually believe in civil liberties. The conservatives don't actually believe in free markets. It's just words they use to fool the people. So first of all, we have to point out that they're lying, talk about how they're lying, why they're lying, and try to uphold the truth, and try to explain why free markets and civil liberties and privacy and all the ideals that are associated with classical liberalism and with libertarianism are of permanent value, and indeed are entirely bound up with human flourishing. If we actually want humans to flourish, if we want human civilization to flourish, if we want our communities, our families, our businesses, ourselves to flourish and not be stamped out by the boot of the state, then we have to take these ideas seriously. But it sure seems like we can't count on either side.
Right. It's a matter of, especially I think, don't you agree that when the party in power changes and those who were the worshipers of the state now become the opposition and vice versa, that you have a certain number of people who've got to wash out of this and say, oh, come on, there are liberals right now saying this Obama guy is just as bad as Bush, and there, of course, were conservatives, I guess probably a smaller proportion of conservatives who never did like Bush. That's what we got to hope for, right, is that they're finally now paying attention. We can teach them about individualism. I guess,
of course, these people are very smart on both sides. So all of a sudden you have, for example, to take the Republicans, people who had striven for the total state, who had been, for example, for a massive expansion of government intervention into medical care. Look at Bush's so-called prescription drug benefit, or many other things the Bush administration did to expand the government's control over medical care. All of a sudden these people are saying, oh my gosh, Obama wants to expand government control over medical care. We have to stop him. That's socialism and so forth. Well, it is socialism. The Obama plan, of course, is a disaster. It's horrible. But so was the Bush plan. Every single American president since Harry Truman has expanded government intervention in medical care. Every single one of them. Reagan, Eisenhower, Bush, Clinton, LBJ, of course, JFK, all of them. They've under their regimes, it's been a constant march of more and more federal power over medical care, and it has this connection to the warfare question. They love being able to, Sarah Palin is exactly right when she talks about they'd like to have death panels. There are death panels in other socialized medical systems, and people in government love the idea that they can tell you that they can put you to death, either directly through euthanasia or indirectly through the denial of care. And this appeals to people in government.
And let me chime in here that I'm fixing to play this interview I recorded this morning with it's fair to say, progressive journalist Greg Palast from the BBC.
Yeah.
And my previous interview of him, we talked all about this, and he said, hey, everybody, just because Obama says there's not going to be death panels, you should not believe that. They're lying to you about this whole thing. And he said that the opposition of the insurance companies is simply crocodile tears. They have a deal with the White House. This is nothing but a massive, not socialist or maybe half socialist, but fascist transfer of wealth from the taxpayer to these most powerful insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. And that, here was liberal Greg Palast basically sounding like Lew Rockwell and saying, hey, man, don't write off the idea of death panels just because some crazy right-winger you don't respect said so. There may actually be something to that.
Well, anything the big pharmaceutical companies, the American Medical Association and the American Hospital Association are for, as they are for this healthcare plan, it's evil. It's rotten. It has nothing to do with the American people. And I must say, Palast has been, by the way, great about who finances what in terms of American politics. I mean, he's been great at looking who really finances the Republican Party and the Democratic Party. Mm-hmm. And it's these interest groups. Of course, they want to be, it's what Nietzsche called that cold, cruel monster, the state. They want the people in the state look forward to the idea of killing you. They look forward. They like denying care. And, of course, if somebody has been a problem for them, they might really like to get rid of you. But they definitely get a kick out of denying care or performing euthanasia in the socialist system in the Netherlands, the socialized medical or fascist medical system. They have a category of death called in their hospitals called involuntary euthanasia.
Oh, that's a very nice name for it.
In other words, they kill you.
Yeah.
They decide, that you've lived long enough. They kill you. So this is what we're headed to. We've already got a little bit of this in this country. We're going to be getting more of it. And of course, I'm glad to hear that Palast said that, because it's certainly true. But again, this is not just Obama. It's not just the Democrats. It's Bush. It's Clinton. It's Eisenhower. It's Reagan. It's Johnson. It's the whole line of criminals. And if Woodrow Wilson had been able to bring it about, he probably would have done that too.
Indeed. Well, you mentioned early on in this interview about the current push for global federalism, and I think I'd like to have you back on the show. We're out of time for this one for that, but I will say that I went a long time without the internet, Lou. I didn't get it till 2003, and I had the New York Times, and I had TV news, and I had books. And all of my best revisionist history of the 20th century that I learned up until 2003 mostly came from people like G. Edward Griffin on sort of the John Birch right. And a lot of that, of course, has to do with the Morgan and Rockefeller establishments and so forth. But one of the first things that happened to me when I got the internet was I read what I guess was published as a monograph finally, but it's an article. It's one long article anyone can find at lewrockwell.com. Again, that's L-E-W, Rockwell.com. It's called Wall Street Banks and American Foreign Policy by Murray and Rothbard. And that was basically the entire sort of John Birch conspiracy theory version of the 20th century, only without any of the kooky stuff, without any of the right-wing stuff. It was... Rothbard basically telling me that the best I've been able to figure out all that time was right. And plus, did you know that this guy was married to that other guy's daughter? And man, it is just absolutely great. And it's at the top of my recommendations for people who want to learn the real kind of behind the scenes revisionist history of the 20th century there. And then I hope we can maybe continue the subject of world federalism and so forth as dreamed of by Philip Drew back in the day, sometime soon on the show, Lou.
Thank you very much, Scott.
Everybody, that's Lew Rockwell. The website is lewrockwell.com. And Lew, by the way, I keep your blog open all day long and hit refresh on it. The books are Speaking of Liberty, The Left, the Right, and the State. And again, check out Mises.org, M-I-S-E-S for Ludwig von Mises.org.